Good Monday morning. It is Monday, September 25th, and so thrilled to have you with us. I'm Monica Adams, and you're tuned in to The Real Monica Adams Show, brought to you by our friends at Innovare Health and Wellness. First of all, how was your weekend? Did you enjoy it? I hope it was a busy one for you, or if you're always busy in life, I hope it was very relaxing. You were able to enjoy the weather. It was absolutely gorgeous. We are now officially into fall. The autumnal equinox kicked off on Saturday. I had a reel and some posts and some stories that I put out over the weekend, and I was like, it's always one of the saddest days to have to close the pool. So my husband and I did that yesterday. My mom helped out to make sure we fastened all the aspects of the pool cover down. And then I just looked out and I was like, you can't see the water anymore. So anybody who owns a pool, you know what I'm talking about. It's always that final day. You try to squeeze every ounce of summer that you can possibly do. And then you have to say, okay, it's time for fall. However, for those of you that have the opportunity, you might want to leave it open for the next several days because this week is actually going to be warm. Today's supposed to be in the upper 80s, maybe a little cloud mix for you and humidity as well. Some of you are in the upper 60s this morning, low 70s. It's actually a beautiful start to the day, but just understand if you're going to go for a walk, you might want to get it done early or get your exercise done. It will be a little bit warm later for the dogs and for yourself. So upper 80s and then actually mixed into the 80s throughout the rest of the week. I did hear a possibility of a pop-up storm tomorrow, so just be aware of that. Grab that umbrella. Before we bring our guest on in a handful of minutes, I just want to give a little rundown of the news you can use. So, are you a Mizzou fan? MIZZOU. They cracked the top 25. They're now sitting at 23 after their win at the Domes. Did you get a chance to go? Let me know if you had a chance to cheer on the Tigers. It was Mizzou against the Memphis Tigers, and Mizzou won. That means they are now 4-0 for the first time in about a decade. So congrats to the Missouri Tigers. As well, there's a lot of information in the news right now that has to do with strikes, going in a strike, going out of a strike. That's all I heard this morning. St. Louis University slew hospital nurses for 24 hours going on a strike. And then we're talking about the Hollywood strike that's been ongoing for months. There could be a break in that with regards to the writers, as well as getting your talk shows back, like Jimmy Kimmel. And a lot of people were talking about Drew Barrymore in the news. The show was off and then on and on again and off again. Sounds like it might be back on again with the writers because some people were saying she was trying to go back on and try to skirt using the writers. Was she going to do it on her own? Was she going to ad-lib the whole show? All of that. So maybe you'll get those talk shows back and we'll see what happens, obviously fighting for their rights. We also have tonight a big meeting for the Rams. Can you believe it? The Rams settlement money. They're still dealing with that. That's tonight. The UAW, Big Three, that strike continuing about a week and a half in now. And they're also talking about possibility of a government shutdown on the 30th if they can't come to an agreement. So that's pretty much the recap of all the main aspects of the news that I heard for you this morning. So again, strikes on and off and on and off. Sports, again, as I said, Mizzou. I also heard St. Louis City SC, soccer. They won. We had the Cards, the Blues. Yes, the Blues had preseason games, 2 of them on Saturday. So some people said they weren't ready for hockey until football wrapped up. But yeah, it's that mixture. Hockey, soccer, football, all of that going on. Speaking of football and soccer, by the way, your high school, your grade school, your college kids, and then, of course, professional, there is a lot of information lately that's showing that there's IV hydration therapy happening on the sidelines. And we're going to hear all about that with Dr. Sarah Franco from Innovare Health and Wellness. That's coming up on Friday. Not only is she talking about IV hydration therapy, obviously in her office, that a lot of you are going in for, but it's happening with the athletes, and it's getting that hydration into them quicker. What are your thoughts on that, right? It's something that I find very interesting as an athlete because we were always drinking the water, when we were kids, having the parents bring the oranges, apples, different types of fruit and things to get us hydrated. But she has been asked to come to a lot of different sports, whether it be football or soccer, traveling to do so, a couple of hours away to do just that. And she said she's seeing it more and more and is actually a big proponent of it, though. So again, not only is she going to talk about that, but we're also going to talk about the change of the season with regards to skin and shedding the skin you're in, that transition. Still, use your SPF on your skin. You know, a lot of times people are like, oh, it's cloudy out, I don't need it. Yes, you do. You got to take care of yourself. So that's coming up on Friday. We also have 2 big days for you. Today, I want to run down for you Fred Domke. He is the CEO and the founder of Bread. Bread, we're going to talk about the organization, how they are helping those off the streets, homeless, giving them a job, giving them possibilities and opportunities and paying it forward, and how you can pay it forward with the first ever Bread and Butter Gala that's coming up at the Chase Park Plaza on October 13th. We're also kicking off, I told you last week, Medical Mondays and Ask the Doctor, a brand new half-hour segment that we're going to be doing on Mondays. Dr. Charles Willey, I've known him for years with ESSA and Essence Health, and then he opened Innovare Health Advocates. They have 5 locations, both sides of the river for you. And we're going to talk about how different he is as a physician, his entire staff, and that whole feel, not true concierge medicine where you're paying a ridiculous, exorbitant amount of money for concierge medicine. That's what some of you want to do. That's fine. But this type of a doctor exists without having to pay that. Truly taking care of you, your family, even your pet. He brought his little biscuit dog in. I'm hoping he comes in and actually brings him in studio. He's in a little carrier and just an absolutely beautiful dog. So you know he's got a heart of gold for pets as well. I want to thank Kathy Kilo Peterson over the weekend. We walked for the world, for peace, for kindness. It was a beautiful day. Absolutely beautiful just from a temperature standpoint, but beautiful to see how many people came out. Dr. Joe Dispenza put that on, Walk for the World. And there were people walking all over the world at the exact same time listening to this meditation app. We went out to Central Park in Chesterfield, truly enjoyed walking and seeing the calmness and the peace. So Kathy, thank you for putting that on, and thank you also for supporting the event that happened Saturday night. Equus Rescue Therapy, their Boots and Jeans Ball. Hello to Margot Sutter and to Jack Williams and to all the volunteers, the veterans, the staff that put that on, hoping we raise some good money for you so you can continue the beautiful work that you do. And so that was my recap of the reel and the stories that I put together, showing you a very busy weekend, but a beautiful weekend of paying it forward. And so tomorrow, we're going to be also talking to Teresa Carrington, and it's a 10x3 organization and what she's doing for the world. So that's what the show's about, by the way. If you're brand new to it, thank you for tuning in. We started this on March 1st, and it's all about giving back to the world and trying to change all the negativity that's out there. We know it exists, but what can we do about it to help pay it forward with kindness and bringing that spiritual, mental, and physical balance together? That's what this show's about. So if you're brand new, welcome. I'll be looking at some of your comments today. And again, come with your questions because your Ask the Doctor segment is coming up in about 20 minutes. So we've got 2 guests, and we're going to start with the first one, Fred Domke, CEO and founder of Bread. He will be in the blue chair when we return. Invita Health and Wellness, where you can feel your best both inside and out. Invita isn't your typical med spa. They're a multi-specialty medical spa and wellness center serving St. Louis and its surrounding areas. They have ketamine for mental health and pain, IV therapy, medical weight loss, and aesthetics treatments. As board-certified anesthesia providers, Invita can ensure that their advanced treatments are provided safely with minimal to no pain. So let Invita take care of you. Call 314-394-0950 to book an appointment or online invitahealthandwellness.com. And welcome back. It is 7:08, and it is the Real Monica Adams Show. We are in the Invita Health and Wellness Studios. Absolutely beautiful day. Hope you're enjoying yours. If not, if you woke up and you're a little cranky, it's time to change. Meditate, calm, breathe. Let's get you in a good headspace so you can take on the world. That's what we want you to do this morning. Thank you for tuning in. As I mentioned, 2 great guests today. First of all, Fred Domke is in the blue chair. Fred, thanks for coming in.
Well, thank you.
I heard you say that you got up at your normal time, which I love to hear this because most people don't do what I do in the morning, which is get up early. What time do you get up?
Well, between 3:30 and 4:30.
I love that. How long have you done that?
Several years.
Yeah.
Yep. It's my quiet time. I'm an extrovert, but that time until about 6 is really alone time, and I'll do a little bit of email and watch some news, but it's just it's my peaceful time of the day.
I love that. Before we get into, obviously, you're an incredible organization. Talk about the importance of that. There's a lot of people that say, oh, no, I just want to keep sleeping. And they're like, why would you get up so early after 30 years of waking up? Now, I don't wake up at 1:30 anymore. But I said there's so much that can be done. And a lot of times it is before the craziness of the world
Right.
takes over. It, as Fred just said, it's your own time to find some clarity, to what I love is to pick your word of intention. What do you want for yourself and for the day? So yeah, there's so much, and there's a lot of studies that show very successful people are up by 4 a.m.
Well, sounds great to me.
His organization has been very successful. So let's talk about this. So Bridge Bread, for those who have never heard of your organization, you started this years back.
12 years ago.
Yes.
Yep, 12 years. We started it in a homeless shelter with no permission, no money, no permits, and not much of a plan. We felt sort of called to do it. So, yeah, long time ago.
So why? You and your wife said, we want to do this. We want to give back. First of all, why? What was the brainchild behind it? And then obviously we'll talk about the success that you've had.
Okay, so Sharon is my second wife. We've been married 25 years now, but I guess only 13 years, 12 years ago. But we had moved from West County when her youngest daughter graduated from Parkway West, moved back to the city and got more involved in things that were going on in the city, including a lot of mission and charitable efforts. And one of those was volunteering at a daytime homeless shelter called The Bridge on Olive and near 16th Street. And we volunteered there, and we would make dinner and serve it to the guests in the dining room. And we found it real rewarding. It was, people were hungry, and it was a place out of the weather, and it's all that was great. And so one week, my pastor had given a sermon on when Jesus said the bit about, when you care for the least of these, you're caring for me. And we were in the dining room, and I was the lucky guy that got the hand trays to the hungry people. And as I was doing that, a young man, good-looking young man, very dark-complected black man with green eyes, caught my eye, and I thought, wow, how great those green eyes look with that dark skin. And he was smiling, and as he came up, I handed him his tray, and he said, bless you. And there's a lot of folks say bless you in a shelter like that. But then I looked at his shirt, and like my shirt, it had writing on it, and his shirt said, here I am. And I grabbed Sharon's arm, and I said, that's him. We just served Jesus.
Oh.
And that's what we really felt, that not just something we were going to do a couple times a month, but that we really wanted to put a lot of our effort into helping those who were without housing. And so we struggled with what that meant. And there are a lot of great programs for people without housing.
Sure.
And the one we were at was a daytime program, and then there's shelters, and there's clothing programs, and there's training programs, and all that. And we think those are all great. But we realized that an awful lot of them were making it easier for people to be homeless. And we thought, wouldn't it be great if we could make it easier for them to be not homeless?
So what ways were they making them easier?
Well, you give them a safe place to sleep. You give them food. You give them clothes. You give them, even training is good. Those are all wonderful things. Health care, whatever you can do. They're all really important things to do. And in some cases, they're able to assist them with housing, but it's really tough unless you're in a special category. And I say special category, something like, a disability, a veteran, a single parent with dependent children or whatever. There really isn't much in the way of housing that's available without a steady income. And so we thought about what could we do that could help with jobs.
Sure.
So you've probably heard the old bit about, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach him to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. So we thought about that for a while, and there's a little flaw in that logic. So
And that is?
That is when somebody says you feed him for a lifetime because he knows how to fish. I go, where does he get the fishing pole? How does he get to the lake? What if he doesn't have a boat? So training is great. Training is necessary. I wholeheartedly approve of all the programs with training, and people help them write resumes and all this sort of stuff. But you actually have to have a real job, and a real job that can understand the challenges that a person who's living on the street is facing,
Sure.
and provide them with the kind of supportive employment they need. So we wanted to, come up with jobs. And well, we're not millionaires, and how are we going to do that? So that becomes a real struggle. And we thought, well, what can we create? And we thought about gift baskets and candles and firewood and a bunch of other things. And you might like this. I don't know. You're in a sorority in college?
No, I was not in a sorority, but I had a lot of friends at work.
Okay. Well, my wife is a sorority girl,
Okay.
Alpha Phi, although they call that a fraternity. But anyhow, and every 2 years, she and her friends go away for a little trip,
Sure.
a girls' trip, and we don't know what is involved, but we know wine's part of
Always.
what's going on.
Yes, good decisions are always made with a good red wine.
So she went away, and I'm the cook in our household.
Okay.
And I was bored, and I'd never made bread. And I went down I Googled it, and you don't need much. You need flour and yeast. You probably got salt and water, and that's about all it takes.
Right.
I got some flour and yeast, and I made 2 little skinny loaves of bread. They didn't look like that, but 2 skinny little loaves of bread, and fresh out of the oven. They smelled great, slathered them with butter, and I ate them, and that was my dinner. And that night I had a dream, and in the dream I was at the shelter making bread with the guests from the dining room. And I got up in the morning and I said, thank you, Lord, I got my instructions. I'm going to open a bakery.
Isn't it beautiful how he sends the messages? But we have to have, Fred and I were talking in the beginning about getting up early, taking some time, meditating, breathing, finding clarity, and that's when the messages are received.
Right.
If there's too much clutter and debris in the brain and the exhaustion and stress, you're never going to get the message. And many times you'll be like, oh, why didn't I get this message before? It was probably there, but you weren't ready to hear it.
Listening is more important than thinking about it, and in many cases more important than talking about it.
Oh, absolutely. Let me reintroduce. This is Fred Domke, once again, CEO and founder of Bridge Bread. And we're talking about 12 years ago, launching this dream and the incredible work that's been done. You've been looking at some of the pictures. Those are people that you have employed, the people, and there's your organization, by the way. Where are you located?
We're down on Cherokee Street, just west of Jefferson, kind of in between the Antique Borough and Calle Cherokee.
Okay.
We've been there for about 6 years now, and beautiful facility. It was once a silent movie theater.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was built as the Van Doren Movie Theater. It was a success with silent movies for about 10 years till a guy named Fred Warenberg opened 2 blocks down and put him out of business.
And it all changed. His dream.
So the Cinderella, which is the place where he opened this, is restored. It's not as a movie theater anymore, and neither is the Van Doren, of course. So we're down there, and we also have a presence at the Solar Farmers Market.
Okay.
So we're there, Solar Farmers Market, on Wednesdays through Saturdays every week. So we also distribute our products through several Schnuck stores, an Eat Well store, Fresh Time Market. We do the treats at the Symphony. We do the treats for Java with the Jesuits at St. Louis University. We sell our product through a large number of churches on consignment, and and farmers markets, of course. So,
and we're looking at, again, so we're going to talk about the gala here in just a second, but we're looking at the people, the faces, the hope and the possibilities. Looking at those faces, what does this mean to you for 12 years of knowing that you've made that kind of a difference?
Well, it is a really transformational difference. And let me just say that you need to understand that when people are on the street, it wasn't one thing that happened. It's like a death of 1,000 cuts. They lose their job, they lose their spouse, they can't pay the car payment, they can't pay the rent, they can't afford the dog, and it's just drives you down and grinds you down to the point where you reach the point where you don't have a place to stay anymore. Sure. And a lot of folks abandon all hope. They think nothing's ever going to go right in my life. So when they come to us, they're not in a good place. So when they come to Bridge Bread, though, because we're kind of unique in this, they go into the kitchen, and the old white guy isn't running the kitchen, not me. The kitchen is run by folks who were just like them when they started, and they start out their day with a tub of butter and a sack of flour and some sugar, and they make stuff like this beautiful Bridge Bread that you're looking at, and they look at that and they go, I can do something good.
I did that,
And
right?
I did that. It's exactly what I hear, and it's restorative. We make these things by hand, so they're kneading the dough with their hands. They're measuring the everything out. They're rolling out the cinnamon rolls and spreading the filling and rolling it up, and everything is done by hand. It's an intimate relationship with the dough, and it's restorative. And so, after a while, after 2 months, we provide them with a bit of a housing incentive. We provide for the first month's rent and the move-in money, and we help them to find a place and help a landlord to understand that they're not a high-risk tenant.
Absolutely.
And that's a hard struggle.
Sure.
The landlords are probably more of a problem than paying the rent.
Because they don't believe.
They don't. It's tough especially if you're young and you don't sound like a rich suburbanite. Almost no rentals take phone calls live. They take them on an answering machine, and you don't even get called back. We had one baker who called 30 different places, and no one called back. My wife made 3 calls and got 2 appointments.
Wow.
And we went with them to the 2 appointments and got a place for him to stay.
I love that.
So that was William. So anyhow, it's absolutely fabulous to see the progress that people make. Some of them finish their GED. Almost all of them, like Vince there, have gotten their certificate of achievement for food handlers, which is something they take with them. I mean, they can go work in a restaurant anywhere. They get their Hep A shots and their ServSafe certification, and they're good to go. So it's a big deal.
I love the fact that you're giving a story. We're looking at the faces. Each person, all of us in life, human beings. I end every show, Fred, saying, in a world where you can be anything, and someone gives you the ability to be anything, before you do that, be kind. Just be kind. You don't know someone else's story, and people are just it's deaf and blind, right? We turn our eyes away, and just try to go on with our life instead of saying, how can we help? Well, we're literally giving you an organization here. This is how you can help. You go into the location, or you look for the bridge bread at where you shop, or the farmers markets, etc. You give back, and then knowing, wow, we get this. We get to feed ourselves. It's incredible. But I know what went on behind that. These are the faces. And as you mentioned, I think that's probably the most powerful thing is there's a story. There's a lot of success that all of a sudden comes crashing down. So when we talk about the highs of highs and lows of lows,
right.
Those are the stories, right? You've heard them all in 12 years.
Yes, we've heard a lot, and we've had some tragedies. We lost a baker to a drug overdose, and we've had others who have fought mental illness. But it is important to note that a lot of people think that people that are homeless because of mental illness and addictions. The incidence of that is a little bit higher with the homeless population, but there has not. I got a friend who's works in the social work school at St. Louis U. There's not a clear study that shows that incidence is higher because of homelessness, or homelessness is higher because of that incidence. So that isn't the primary issue.
What have you seen in the last 12 years with regards to homelessness in St. Louis City proper, and then it is existing outside of there as well? Just understand, it's not just in the city. Right. Have you seen it gone up?
So let me backtrack just a little bit about the baseline, okay? There's a thing called a point-in-time census, where on a Saturday on a February, when a bunch of wonderful volunteers, they go and they try to count the folks that are homeless in St. Louis. And they go to the shelters, and they go and they look at the encampments, wherever they might be, and they come up with a count. And last time I heard it was something like 1,600. There's also a woman who is in charge of the children in the St. Louis public schools who are without secure housing. She has 8,000 children.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, so the count of 1,600 people that are homeless is not representative of what's really going on. And there's a very good reason for that. The St. Louis City has a lot of vacant buildings, and the folks in St. Louis that are experiencing homelessness, they're in those buildings. They're not in the shelters. Right. They're not under the overpasses. The vast majority of them are in, they call them VACOs.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's where they are. So that population is large in the city, and many of them are longer term. And if they get chased out of a building, they just go to another one.
Right.
They do lose all their possessions when that happens. Usually when they board up the building, whatever's inside, you've lost it. You get to start over from what little you had to nothing. So I think the population did decrease for a little bit during COVID, because we had a moratorium on evictions, and we had rent subsidies. That's expired. Evictions are way back up.
Right.
And the worst part is rent has gone up a lot. It used to be that you could get a modest one-bedroom or a studio apartment in an okay neighborhood for $450.
Right.
Now it's $675.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And when you're making $12-15 an hour, that $200 is a lot, or $250 in additional costs. So we do see that it's climbing again, and we're real hopeful with what's going on with the city and with some of the recent changes that they're making, that's going to get a lot better. Dr. Adam Pearson is just taken over as Director of Human Services for the City of St. Louis. He's a friend of mine. We worked together on an affordable housing program a long time ago, and we also worked together when he was at Peter and Paul Community Services. If there's a man to help with that situation, it's Adam, and I'm really looking forward to that, and that he's going to make a big impact. This law change was really big, where they, I think it's just at the verge of being passed, where they're going to eliminate the requirement that people within 500 feet of a shelter have to approve the shelter, because we have the old NIMBY effect, not in my backyard. Shelters are great, but I don't want one on my block.
Right.
And they're going to say, if you consider a larger area, perhaps the community really does support the shelter, just not necessarily the people that are in the immediate vicinity. And that has stopped a lot of shelters from opening.
Sure. Yeah, not in my backyard. We've heard that before for sure. Well, Fred, again, is doing incredible work with Bridge Bread, and there's so many ways that you can help out. And one of them is a gala. We're looking at all of the faces, all of the stories. And again, there are so many stories of the people that they are helping in the last 12 years and will continue to help. I want to tell you all about the gala because I know you're always wanting to know how can you pay it forward. We're going to take a very quick break, and then we're going to wrap up with Fred. We also have Dr. Charles Willey coming up for you in just a few minutes. But the gala itself is going to be at the Chase Park Plaza, and we'll give you all the details, the website, everything that you need to know of how you can help out and pay it forward when we return.
All good.
It's the icing on the cake.
The final brush stroke.
The finishing touches make all the difference in your home, too.
Have fun and get started at carolhouse.com/room planner.
With thousands of accessories in our 3.5-acre showrooms.
Get your picture perfect room and the lowest prices in the country at Carol House.
Because you like nice things.
Of course, it's great to get outside and enjoy the warm weather, but when it's time to relax indoors, be sure your home stays cool with equipment and service from my friends at Aldon. 24-hour emergency service available. At Aldon, it's their commitment to continue providing above and beyond HVAC service for all of their customers. They truly care about the air you breathe. Call them today at 314-567-5585 or on the web, aldon.com. That's al-don.com, 314-567-5585. Welcome back, 7:27, and it's the Real Monica Adams Show, and we've been talking about the opportunities to give someone hope and possibilities and pay it forward. Bridge Bread is the organization we've been discussing. Our friend Fred Domke, who started that 12 years ago. So we have a gala coming up. This is the first ever.
That's right. October 13th. It's going to be at the Chase Park Plaza, or Royal Sonesta Chase Park Plaza Hotel for the whole full name of it all. And it's going to be in the Coruscant Room, where when I was a little kid, they had wrestling at the Chase.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's far from a wrestling-looking venue.
No,
it's a
gorgeous.
very fancy place. And Hazib, the catering manager, is going to put on some gourmet food for us. We're going to have a quartet from the School of Music at Washington University playing jazz music for us. And our keynote speaker is that very same Dr. Adam Pearson from the City of St. Louis, Director of Human Services. Going to have a little auction and going to have a good time.
And so tickets are on sale already?
Tickets are on sale.
Okay.
The easiest way to get to it is to go to bridgebread.org, click on events, and then click on gala.
Okay.
So that'll get you to the site where you can purchase tickets. Tickets are $150, but you should understand that includes an open bar with premium liquor, I'm not a drinker, but I know that that's appreciated by a lot. And it does include a parking voucher, as well as a really good dinner. And you'll have an opportunity to meet a bunch of really great people, including several of the bakers are going to be able to attend.
I was going to ask. Good. They'll
Yep.
be there. So bridgebread.org, and then go to events, go to the gala, purchase your tickets. This is how you can give back so they can continue to do the incredible work that they're doing. And I love the fact that it's a first ever, and I'm hoping that it will be years and years and years to come. So again, it's the Bread and Butter Gala. I love that name, by the way. Who came up with that?
I think it was one of our board members. I'm not sure.
Bread and Butter.
I can't actually remember where that came from, but I'm very thankful to the Chase, not only for hosting, but for doing that wonderful thing of putting the letters up on their board so we could take a picture of it.
Yes, right? Exactly.
That made it a great intro for what we're doing.
So the Coruscant Ballroom, October 13th, starting at 6?
6,
Okay,
right.
6 p.m. So go to bridgebread.org for all that information and to continue to read about their story, purchase their goods. Go ahead and go down to the bakery and pay it forward. That's how, when we started the show, we told you that things are out there that are real world issues. And how can we make a difference? This is your way. Fred, thank you for what you're doing. I greatly appreciate your organization and
Thank you.
looking forward to being at the event.
Thank you.
Yes. Bread and Butter Gala, October 13th. Go to bridgebread.org for all that information. So Fred was one of our guests. We mentioned we have two guests and a brand new segment we're kicking off today. It is Medical Monday, Ask the Doctor with Dr. Charles Willey. We're going to start today giving you all the background on who he is, the passion that he has as a doctor. A long time. He was affiliated with ESSA and Essence Healthcare, and then he opened up Innovare Health Advocates. We're going to find out all about that with Dr. Charles Willey when we return. When was the last time you called your doctor at 2 o'clock in the morning and he actually answered? Well, at Innovare, their patients are special. Their doctors, nurse practitioners, and care team care deeply about your health, your family, your work, even your pet. Their clinicians are accessible. In fact, Dr. Charles Willey offers his cell phone number to ensure that they can intervene early in your illness. They provide care above and beyond offering lab, x-ray, echocardiography, and other treatments in their office. Innovare Health Advocates with 5 locations on both sides of the river. Check them out at innovarehealth.com. Hi, it's Monica Adams, and I just want to say thank you so much for following along since we launched The Real Monica Adams Show back in March. But I wanted to let you know there's so much more that our team can do for you. From styling to emceeing to life coaching to personal training, motivational speaking all around the world. If you have a company, a corporation, a business that would like to book us, email me, info@TheRealMonicaAdams.com. Let's change lives together in person. Info@TheRealMonicaAdams.com.
She changed which camera is.
And welcome back. It is 7:32, and we are live streaming for you on both Facebook and on YouTube. It's The Real Monica Adams Show. Again, thank you to Fred Domke. What an incredible organization he has. If you're just tuning in and you didn't get a chance to hear the first half hour, go ahead and go back. You can watch it again on Facebook and YouTube at any time. In fact, every show since March 1st are on actually both pages, so you'll get a chance to watch that. Today, though, we kick off a brand new segment. It is Ask the Doctor for Medical Mondays with Innovare Health Advocates and a very dear friend of mine for a long, long time. There he is, Dr. Charles Willey. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Monica.
Thank you for coming in, and I love the fact that we're kicking this off. I've had a lot of people say, oh, I've got questions, and I was like, good, that's what we want.
Good.
You and I, though, have known each other for a long, long time, so you give a little background to those that don't know you.
So I'm in my 40th year as a
Wow.
general internist.
Congrats.
Okay, grew up in South County, went to medical school at Mizzou, didn't get very far away, and came back and trained at St. John's Mercy in the early '80s. Wanted to be a doc in the community, and it was a great place to do that back then. And so planted my shingle with a partner, Bob Seitz, and grew from there.
Beautiful. And you and I first, well, we go back to our KMOX days. So I did a health and fitness segment for 8 years, a health and fitness show, and I had you on back then. And we loved the rapport together. We loved how we were able to impact from the medical standpoint together in the stories and the things that we talked about. That we thought, well, hey, let's do that again. Let's kick this off. You also were involved with ESSA and Essence Healthcare, and I used to we used to have programs all over the place for seniors, and then we also did a wonderful program at Friendship Village and changed lives with that balance of life we're always talking about. That spiritual, the physical, mental. That's so important, and that's what you take care of. Actually, older population, yes. And we're talking about grandmas, grandpas, your parents, making sure that they're well taken care of. You're very big on, and I mentioned this, concierge medicine without concierge price. Talk about that.
Yeah. So, as an internist, people come to me who have medical problems, and if you really delve into the problem, you have to get to the root source. Mm-hmm. So, and often that leads us into people's lives and their homes, and what choices are they making? What can they afford? Mm-hmm. Your previous guest, we go to tough neighborhoods. Our offices are in those places. Mm-hmm. We haven't figured out how to take care of the homeless yet, but certainly low and middle income folks. Mm-hmm. So we have to go understand what's happening. And there was a great opportunity in the early 90s, a different way of Medicare financing. It's now called Medicare Advantage, mm-hmm. and it allows me to slow down and get it right. I don't have to go fast. I don't have to do a lot of stuff for people. I actually have a lot of stuff to do if I need to, but I don't have to make a living. I get paid to keep people happy, healthy, active, and alive.
Right.
Which is where, when I told folks I was the founding chief rabble-rouser of ESSA Health, a bunch of doctors. Some people say that's like herding cats. Uh-huh. Yeah. And then we put up our own health plan called Essence Healthcare. Mm-hmm. And I was, before Silver Sneakers happened,
right,
which was a middleman to help health plans offer fitness, we tried to work that out with you.
Right.
And that's, then later on, we associated for you to help my customers, my patients at Friendship Village, mm-hmm. stay fit. And it really made a difference.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I have videos and pictures that I took of them. It still makes me smile. Some of them, it makes me cry because I know the ones that are no longer here. But we had 80 and 90 and 95-year-old patients of Dr. Willey's that were doing planks and push-ups and lunges and step-ups. Yes. Yeah. When they started, though, they were maybe like everyone that's older thinks I can only lift 1 pound. They didn't believe in themselves. You really believe in them. And I love the fact everything that I talk about, the whole triangle of life for all of us that are able-bodied and moving around, you're very big on taking care of the mental, the spiritual state, and the physical body.
Oh, my.
Oh, my.
See, in the residency, we noticed there was a doctor who, in the residency, we take care of other doctors' patients. And there was a doc whose patients, he rounded really early. He would come to the hospital at 4 or 5, and we get there at 6 or 7, and he was gone. But they were all on antidepressants. I said, what's wrong with this doctor? Well, he was right. Depression is really, really prevalent.
Yes.
A lot of people have it. You look around, and a lot of people have it, don't treat it. So if we get at that, then we can really solve their problems, because it's such a barrier to them mm-hmm. Learning about and being able to implement the solution to the physical problems.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely fundamental.
Well, and that's the thing. We always talk about stress and how big of a killer stress can be when you don't get that out of your life and you see all these diseases that come on. And just, again, the mental health side, I think it's a great thing, Dr. Willey, and you tell me from a medical standpoint that we go through the pandemic and everybody's forced to be home and they're not out socializing. Some of them are losing their jobs or having to shut down. They can't go and see their loved ones in the hospital. I mean, so many things that really weighed on the mental side. Yeah. But what happened during the pandemic, though, that I think is powerful is that people started saying, hey, I'm not okay. Like mentally, I'm struggling, or I've got depression. And suddenly it wasn't like fearing saying it as if somebody was going to look at them like, what are you talking about? Mental health issues. Like it gave them the ability to say, it's okay not to be okay. You agree with that? I'm
not sure if I noticed it, but I did notice the backlash, which was we call it the COVID backlash year. People stayed home, and the next 2 years, the illnesses were way up. And yeah, depression was part of that. And maybe it's easier to talk to folks about it now, but I seek it out. So maybe I don't notice it. And a sort of a hidden or not hidden but unrecognized cause of depression is poor sleep.
Oh, absolutely.
People don't sleep well. So sleep is when we recharge our mental energy. And if you don't sleep well, you don't recharge that battery. And then your brain, an electrochemical computer, goes into energy conservation mode. When you walk away from your computer, it'll dull and then go off.
Go to sleep.
Well, so our
But
brain,
we wake it up.
if you don't sleep well, that's going to happen to your brain, and you're sort of going around in slow motion, brain slow motion all day. So, so I look for that. I look for the symptoms of depression, which can be subtle, often unrecognized by the person themselves and or family. But finding it is game changing in getting the person to health.
If you're just tuning in, let me reintroduce my guest, Dr. Charles Willey. You're going to be seeing him a lot on this show on Mondays. Medical Monday, Ask the Doctor. I'm actually going to look to see if any of you have any questions for him as you're going along. Maybe you're struggling and you're looking for a new doctor. I'm going to put my name, my hard-earned name for 30 years behind this man. Not only have I worked for him, but he's actually our doctor. He's my husband's doctor. He's my doctor. And I want to thank you for... we went through something just about a year or so ago that he was worried about, he was scared about, but you led him through it. I think you made it a little bit easier on him. And one of the things I love about you that I want everyone to understand, if you're not happy with your doctor, you've got to be your own advocate and say, well, maybe I need to look for someone like this. And that is, you spend time, you genuinely care. We talk about this you'll hear this a lot in the commercial, and it has to do with act as though you have a doctor in the family, right?
That's it.
You literally give your cell phone number to everyone.
Yes. Yep.
Does it ring at all times of the day?
It does, but not that often.
Okay.
And I was afraid of it a long time ago. There was when I was a young doctor, there was an older doc named Lee Ortmeyer, fine family physician in South County, and Monica, you might be old enough to know what a phone book was.
I do, yes.
Yeah. So
they still drop those, and I'm like, what, do we still have these?
Yeah. Well, anyway, I noticed that Dr. Ortmeyer's personal home phone number was in the phone book. I said, Lee, how can you do that? He said, Chuck, if you treat them well and you're available, they'll respect it. And boy, was he right. So I give it out, and people call me when they need me. I don't get any prank calls. Many are apologetic. Don't be apologetic. That's what I'm here for.
Right.
And if I don't get at the problem early, I can't. If we get at the problem early, we can make a giant difference.
So we're always big on being proactive, not reacting,
Yeah.
and not letting things, too often, I think this happens a lot, and let's address men here for a second. Men are they scared still to go to the doctor? They don't want to say that something's going on, and the women always are like, hey, we've got to get you in. Let's just address this. And my husband said it. He's like, I hate to go to the doctor because I don't want to be told something's wrong.
So I'll quip that if it weren't for wives and daughters, I'd be out of business.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's still a thing. Well, I'm
Yeah.
sure, and you talk with the guys. Why? What is the reasoning behind it?
I think pride, for one. Having something wrong, maybe that's a chink in their armor.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, but maybe fear.
Yes.
And healthcare is it's so often a bureaucracy. It's very frustrating to many. You come and you wait, and they don't listen to you. They don't really. You fill out forms, and it's just a bureaucracy. So, and perhaps men are less patient with that.
Good point.
Don't annoy me. Fix it.
Right.
Shut up and fix it. Is that what they want? Right.
If you're just tuning in, Dr. Charles Willey, Innovare Health Advocates. So you can go to InnovareHealth.com to find out more. So when we're talking about going to the doctor, many people say this. They're like, I don't see a doctor anymore. I see an assistant. And I only see the doctor for 5 minutes if I see the doctor. In and out, and I feel like I don't have time. That's not you at all.
Right. Well, we're configured to slow down and get it right. So I do have a team of nurse practitioners. So they are all former intensive care unit nurses of at least 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
And then when they come to me after their nurse practitioner training, I train them thoroughly for a year and then support them closely. So, and I'm always available. Okay. So if they need me, even when one of our patients is in the room with the nurse practitioner, I say to them, listen, if you wonder what Dr. Willey would say when you're with the nurse practitioner, ask her or him. Wayne's in Festus. And if you're not confident about the answer, say, can we call him? And they'll dial me right on we'll get on the video right there in the moment in that, and help solve that problem, help bring confidence to it.
Good.
And then I have collaborative day with each nurse practitioner. So they schedule the difficult cases, the diagnostic dilemmas and the management conundrums. And I'll show up, but always available.
And you just said something about Festus, but you have, what, 5 locations?
5 locations.
On both sides of the river?
Yep. Alton, Festus, middle of St. Charles County, Darden Prairie. South County, the original office.
That's what I thought. The one off Kennerly is your original?
Yep, right
Okay.
up the creek from where I grew up.
Okay.
And
And then Creve Coeur is your newest.
and then Creve Coeur. Yeah.
And that, I hear, is a beautiful location.
Yep.
And that's kind of what the model is going to be for all of your locations. They're all going to start looking like that if they don't already. Is that right?
Yeah, so we're set up to take care of as much as we can when a person is with us.
Okay.
Right. So as an internist, I tell folks apologize to not sound cocky, but after 40 years, I'm 80, 85%, maybe 90% sometimes of the intellectual specialist. You know, a whole lot of healthcare is making the diagnosis and then implementing the treatment. And so after all this time, I learned from every specialist interaction, mainly need specialists when, and I love specialists. Got to have them. They're lifesavers. When I need one of their gadgets or their procedures, and work closely with them. And they appreciate our approach because they get to practice at the top of their ticket. You know, they get to do what they're trained to do. So I have a great relationship with them, but we can do much in our offices.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. I'm going to take a break, but when we come back, Dr. Willey, I mean, I've seen the patients that he's worked with, the ones that I was working with for years in all the different programs, and then at Friendship Village, they all would say, oh, yeah, no, we go in, and he tells us that this is going on, but he tells us that he can help us with that. We're not being sent all over the place. I mean, you think about the population, it's a hard thing for them to try to get around, first of all, that they're not wanting to go to one and then having to go to another doctor, another office, so he's getting a phone call for his cell phone.
That's my social worker. I'll call him back.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll have more. And if I've got my computer out here, any questions that you have about your health or things that you're frustrated with, maybe your own doctor and thought, wow, I need to get some information because maybe I need to change. And this is what I want to take care of me, to take care of my parents, take care of my grandparents, etc. Dr. Charles Willey, Innovare Health Advocates. We'll have more of Ask the Doctor when we return. When was the last time you called your doctor at 2 o'clock in the morning and he actually answered? Well, at Innovare, their patients are special. Their doctors, nurse practitioners, and care team care deeply about your health, your family, your work, even your pet. Their clinicians are accessible. In fact, Dr. Charles Willey offers his cell phone number to ensure that they can intervene early in your illness. They provide care above and beyond offering lab, x-ray, echocardiography, and other treatments in their office. Innovare Health Advocates, with 5 locations on both sides of the river. Check them out at innovarehealth.com. Welcome back, 7:47, and yes, Medical Mondays now, a brand new thing. Ask the Doctor. I want you to be thinking, today I really wanted to do more of the introduction, but I am going to see if you have any questions here or any comments. Otherwise, in future Mondays, come armed with those questions. And we'll also have powerful topics that might have to be in the news right now, and then we'll address those, things that I know Dr. Willey is passionate about. So Kathy Kilo Peterson said, hi, Dr. Willey, great doctor. I met you a long time ago at my dad's office, which is the man who was behind Kilo Diabetes Foundation. So she met you a long, long time ago and said you're a great doctor, which I know.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. Anybody else, if you have any questions before we wrap up with Dr. Willey in about the next 10, 15 minutes, feel free to comment. Rose says you're right. Our doctor's hard to get into because no one wants to see the nurse practitioner and wants to see the actual doctor. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, that's an increasingly common phenomenon. If done right, it can be okay. and I think I'm doing it right. But again, if somebody comes to our practice and wants to see me, I'll see them.
Yes.
You know, it's their choice.
Right.
Many people, once they get to know our nurse practitioners, are comfortable with them day in, day out.
Sure.
Knowing, here's the key, knowing that I'm available. You know, I have a lot of experience.
40 years.
A lot of experience, and that's, you know, people joke about it's the practice of medicine. Well, after 40 years, I'm finally getting it right. I've had a lot of practice, but experience is it. Seeing a lot of dilemmas and figuring them out.
Yes.
But what people need to know is that's available to them if they come to Innovare.
Sure.
Even when they're with one of my nurse practitioners, who I'm imparting that wisdom and experience over time.
Well, you have
But
to
I'm
always-
available.
Yeah, I think, isn't that important? You want to, especially when you've been in the field as long as you have, you want to be able to teach. You want to be able to give back. You want to be able to, if you ever retire, right? I can't even imagine you retiring. If you were ever retire, you want to know that the patients you've been taking care of forever will be able to be in great hands. But the great thing is that you are there hand in hand to say, okay, call me. And the patients know that you will be called, because we do have a relationship with our doctor. It's let's address that. It's a very personalized thing to think about, who am I going to trust for my health?
Yep. Healthcare is a team sport. I mentioned earlier that all of our nurse practitioners are former intensive care unit nurses. Mm-hmm. And, you know, about 20 years ago, the light went on. It was rather of necessity. I was busy organizing that medical group and building that health plan. Mm-hmm. But I found a great nurse practitioner, and she came from the ICU. And it occurred to me, well, hey, when patients are the sickest, they hit the hospital, they're the sickest, they go to the intensive care unit. Well, guess who's taking care of them moment to moment? Mm-hmm. In the middle of the night? Nurses.
Absolutely.
Right? So, and then the ICU selects for a special kind of nurse. They're thinkers, they're doers, they're decision makers. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they'll call a doctor up in the middle of the night and tell them what to do. Not quite. Not quite. But they do have to gather information and lead the doctor, and some of them do. They'll lead the doctor to the right decision, because sometimes they'll give the information and they have a gut about what's going on, and the doctor doesn't agree. So the best will debate the doctor, teach them debate. So if we can trust nurses in that setting, surely we can trust them to help us in the outpatient setting as well. But again, the key is to know what my nurse practitioners know what they don't know. They're not afraid for the patient to ask them, to challenge them, or to go over their head and call me right in front of them. If they're uncomfortable with that, they have my cell phone. Call me afterwards. That seldom happens, and the folks are really comfortable. The other key part of it that allows me and my young physician colleagues, Dr. Fernando and Marquino, we attend our hospital patients. We're dinosaurs in doing that. Most doctors have retreated to the office. They don't go to the hospital when I think the patients need them most. So having these nurse practitioners help us in the office setting helps us be available for the patients when they need us most.
Well, you said you called it a dinosaur, but I think it's the tradition of it all, right? The true tradition of medicine. And we go back, let's go back centuries. Let's go into other countries and we think about the importance of medicine. The thing I love about you, one, is, well, there's several things, but the appreciation you just said for the nurses. And every nurse that's out there, every parent or grandparent that knows someone that is a nurse or a doctor, it's right out of his mouth, the appreciation that he has for those that make up the team, that are there for you. And you want to hear that out of a doctor's mouth, obviously. Let's see this. Love our neurologist at WashU, but feel just as confident with his nurse practitioner. They are fantastic caregivers, yes. Years ago, my mom's doctor was frustrated because he said most of his time was spent punching information in the computer and not with his patients. He ended up going to help others overseas. I know you're not an RA doctor, but do you see arthritis on the rise, and do you agree or disagree that people are living longer with RA or any arthritis with the help of good meds compared to our parents?
Oh, absolutely. Well, whether it's on the rise or not, I'm not certain. Certainly people are living longer, and good old degenerative arthritis, that's wear and tear. The longer you live, the more likely you're going to have it. Rheumatoid arthritis, I'm sorry, I don't know if its frequency is up, but boy, our ability to treat that disease it's miraculous.
What you all can do for arthritis
compared to the way it was,
is mind-blowing to me. I mean, I even think of, like, when surgeries are done, I didn't know that they could actually scrape arthritis out when they're going in, and I'm like, what? What?
Yeah, but rheumatoid arthritis is a systemic illness, and they've invented these medications that suppress that inflammation. It's autoimmune, so the person's immune system is attacking themselves in the joints, and the medicine suppresses it, and it's horribly crippling before those medicines, but now much able to treat and have the person have a good life.
I have a really powerful question for Dr. Willey that I want to ask. If you have any, we've got about 7 minutes left. Feel free to comment. I will be looking at your comments and asking the questions. If you don't get in today, I want you to save those because Dr. Willey will be with us on Mondays at 7:30 for Medical Mondays. Ask the doctor, so don't pass that up. What is your thought, and what do you fear, or what do you think is positive about AI in medicine?
Oh, artificial intelligence. Well, let's see. Noise. There's a had a partner who used the term signal to noise ratio, and I guess it's in radio. You know, back in the day, you're tuning the radio, and there's static. Some of you old enough to remember static. You get the clarity. A lot of room for noise and misleading. I think the strength will be it can help me learn faster and help deliver information more quickly. But in our realm, I need what I need is and I have it actually. I have a medical library at my fingertips. It's called Up to Date. Now I have to go click. And artificial intelligence, the proper use will study a lot of what we do and find patterns that we aren't recognizing. That's where it needs to be. The danger is that people will rely on it too much, unaided, and perhaps be led astray. I think I just was watching your assistant watch the web and notice how wonderful the web, the internet is, except it also magnifies nefariousness, and I think we're going to have to be careful with AI.
Well,
we could be led astray.
People are also worried that they're not going to have what you do, the attention by the doctor, and they're just going to come in, they're going to fill out information, and they're not going to see anybody, and they're going to have constantly getting answers back from a bot. And that's what they're all afraid of. Yeah. I think it's the unknown that scares people so much.
Yep. I do think it could help us manage more people. There's a key thing in healthcare. It's getting patients to take care of themselves. That's really what it's all about. Helping them understand their condition and take care of it themselves. Right. Do what they can with medicines, exercise, lifestyle, etc. But notice it. Take care of themselves. So AI is going to help facilitate that. But I think it will amplify what I offer is the differentiating knowledge of, okay, this is correct, this is probably not.
We're talking about Innovare Health Advocates. Again, 5 locations, both sides of the river. You are affiliated with how many different hospitals?
I'm on staff at 11 hospitals.
Oh, my goodness. When do you sleep, Dr. Willey?
Yeah, I'm very efficient with my sleep. I sleep whenever I can and very efficiently.
No, you know the importance of that.
Sleep is critical.
Sleeping. Well, here's the thing that I also love is it's not just here, come in, see the doctor, here, take some medicine, take some medicine. We talk about how much time he spends with his patients, and you very much guide them and teach them the importance, as you said, of taking care of themselves. Proper fuel, exercise, that's where you and I have always been in the same mindset. You want them to do that, to be proactive in their health.
Absolutely. Let me pause on 11 hospitals. When we take care of folks really well, they don't need the hospital. So how can I be on staff at 11 hospitals? I have 2 partners, but our average daily census is between 3 and 5.
Okay.
And if we take great care of them, we don't need to go very often. But if somebody's in over the weekend, I went to Alta Memorial Hospital, right? 2 days and got the man healthy and home. But Monica, I say move it or lose it.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And for seniors, retired folks, boy, stay active. Stay active. Get a hobby. Get a hobby, get a purpose. Stay involved.
Oh, especially when they're losing spouses and then suddenly they're all alone and we're going into seasonal affective disorder.
Yeah, we got to get social again.
Yes.
Can we have parties again? Can somebody throw a
Please.
party?
I'll throw a party.
What about going dancing? Let's go dancing.
Oh, there you go. You're speaking my mom's
Socialize
language.
with a purpose, exercise, dancing, right?
Yeah.
You know, golfing, you know. I wouldn't make to put it in my dad's term, I wouldn't make a patch on a golfer's backside, but golf is, if you can hit a golf ball, that's a neurologic exam all in one motion. You know, that's physical therapy, right?
Sure.
Or,
Well,
you know,
it's the cognitive side of it all. That's the mind game in golf.
Yeah.
You're
that
doing
too.
the physical, right?
That too. Yeah, exercise your brain.
Wait, they have to.
You know, laugh. Laughter is the best medicine.
And that's what you're going to
Debate.
love about him, by the way. He's always cracking jokes. He's got a dry sense of humor. And sometimes he'll have these little zingers, and you're like, what did he just say? I think he just told a joke. Richard Melching Sr., who watches the show on a regular basis, he said, I love that he helps the patient take care of themselves. You can't just rely on a doctor and not do anything on your own. That is so powerful.
Oh, yeah. That's what I do, is help people take care of themselves. It's
Yes.
critical.
Because we play a big role. You know, you go to the doctor, you're hoping that you don't have to go to the doctor on a regular basis. And if he doesn't see you a ton, he knows you're doing your homework.
Yeah. But I also want to see people keep in touch on a regular basis.
Oh, absolutely.
Try to see, and again, at 40 years, our clientele age with us. So it's great to see folks once or twice a year, no matter what. Yeah.
The name Innovare, where'd it come from?
That was Latin for innovate.
Okay. Innovare, and you launched Innovare how many years ago?
Well, I went into practice in 1984, and it's been the same practice that's evolved through. You know, I had one partner. Then we had 5 partners. Then I merged 5 practices. There were 18 of us. Then we merged with another group that had 45, and the name changed all the way. That last one was ESSA Health. Mm-hmm. We called it ESSA Health, and I separated from ESSA about 15 years ago and called it Innovare Health Advocates.
Gotcha.
And then recruited some other docs into an independent physician association called Vicinia that I lead. And independent physician association is separate practices. We come together for a contract with a health plan.
Okay.
So.
Innovare Health Advocates. You're going to be seeing this man a lot. I want you to bring your questions on Mondays. And again, as we've been stressing, I think the biggest message I want you to understand is he's there to take care of you, genuinely cares about you, the whole family. Where's your dog, by the way? The dog was in here. Is he being dog sit by my assistant?
Yeah.
Michelle, thank you for taking care of Biscuit. Okay, so I always end every show, Dr. Willey, with 100 Days to Freedom. And, you know, we talk about the mental health side. We talk about the importance of rest. So what would you pick from depression, fear and anxiety, anger, shame, and overeating?
So probably start with depression.
Depression, okay.
Because it's the root of all that. Anger
absolutely.
is depression.
These all go together, don't they, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing that we stress. This is how we end every show. So 100 Days to Freedom from Depression. We'll do that when we return. Invita Health and Wellness, where you can feel your best both inside and out. Invita isn't your typical med spa. They're a multi-specialty medical spa and wellness center serving St. Louis and its surrounding areas. They have ketamine for mental health and pain, IV therapy, medical weight loss, and aesthetics treatments. As board-certified anesthesia providers, Invita can ensure that their advanced treatments are provided safely with minimal to no pain. So let Invita take care of you. Call 314-394-0950 to book an appointment or online invitahealthandwellness.com. Welcome back, 8:02, and we're wrapping the show up. We are going to talk about perfectionism. Oh, that's a good one. This is 100 Days to Freedom from Depression. That's the one that Dr. Willey chose. So listen in. I do not consider myself yet to have taken hold of it, but one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead. I press on toward the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus. That's Philippians 3, verses 13 through 14. So think about this. Striving for excellence, generally an acceptable way to live life, but we strive for excellence in school because our efforts might result in a reward that will help with our future education. We pursue excellence at work to advance in our field, and when we fail, many of us simply learn and then we move on. However, If we start shifting toward perfectionism, we can find ourselves headed down an unhealthy path. Perfectionism, two sides of the same coin. On one side, perfectionism, those traits can help us be deliberate and methodical in how we live. How we live. On the other side, those perfectionist traits can make us overly critical and unforgiving of ourselves when we make a mistake. We run the scenario through our minds, analyzing and reanalyzing our behaviors, trying to identify the one area that caused us to miss the mark. And then we compare ourselves to others, always trying to be the best. We might lack the flexibility to try a different route. Staying on that path can bring us to a place of regret as well as depression. And in God's family, we're accepted as is, with our flaws, with our shortcomings. He doesn't require us to be perfect. God invites us to take our eyes off ourselves and fix them on Him, the one only who is perfect. And then we're free to pursue godly things, knowing that when we make a mistake, Jesus has already forgiven and will restore us. The goal is excellence in His name, not perfection. Today's prayer: Father, you are the only one who is perfect. I ask that you send your Holy Spirit to help liberate me, the performer, the perfectionist. Help me to see myself as you see me, and give me the grace to see others as you see them. Amen. That's a good one. And Dr. Willey, I struggle with that on a daily basis. Always trying to be perfect.
Learn from the past.
Yes.
Live in the future.
Yep.
And thank God for do-overs.
Exactly.
Right.
So once again, for someone who is intrigued and interested by what you're doing, what's the easiest way for them to get in touch with you? Just go to the website?
Go to the website or call my cell phone.
You're going to give that out even if they're not a patient?
Yeah, if when folks come to us, they realize that we're different, and it's hard for somebody to really appreciate it until they talk to me, especially if they'll talk to me about a diagnostic dilemma or a management conundrum.
Oh, I love that.
And so I hope that being with you on your program will help. We'll have people call and say, and they can do it anonymously, of course. But give me your challenge. What's troubling you? Where are you stuck in healthcare? And I'd be delighted to handle it. But 314-359-0413.
Okay, there it is. That's his personal cell.
Yeah.
And then InnovareHealth.com with 5 locations on both sides of the river. You're going to see much, much more. We're going to be in contact with each other. And by the way, I always ask you, because I want this to be your show, go ahead and shoot me emails, info@TheRealMonicaAdams.com. If there are topics you would like for me and Dr. Willey to discuss next Monday, shoot those over to us, and I'll be armed with them in advance, and I can let him know what is weighing on your mind. I'm excited to do this segment with you.
Great. It's been fun.
Thank you so much. Dr. Charles Willey, again, InnovareHealth.com. And thank you to all of you. I wish you the best day today, and if it's a struggle, then by tonight, remember the bookends of your day is your intention in the morning, your gratitude in the evening. Find something that went right today, even if the whole day has a tendency to just throw itself off. Find some gratitude in the evening, get some good rest as we talked about, and then wake up tomorrow and set that intention. I will see you tomorrow. We will talk with Teresa Carrington, 10 by 3. What's that organization? Well, you have to tune in. It's a powerful one. She will be my guest tomorrow. Remember, go out, be anything you want to be in the world, but before you're anything, be kind. God bless you all. Thanks for watching.